How you guys doing today? Welcome back to the channel. So now this is another educational video for some of you that don't know what you're doing. I don't know if you guys subscribe to Invisible Speed, but this is the person you should be listening to if you're looking for tuning advice. So with that being said, I'm just going to play a little portion of this video and talk about this.
S21J?
So he's talking about tuning, how to tune, easy way to tune your Nitro engine. Now I want to see how he actually tunes his Nitro engine. So let's just watch for a second, and let's take a look at. So he's saying about the idle gap, how you should have your idle gap, and there's no magic setting to tune your engine from, guys. Like the factory settings and all of that, there's no magic setting for this.
What you want to do is you just want to start from the rich side.
So you want to start from the rich side, he's saying, when you're tuning an engine.
And the idle gap is big enough, you know.
Yeah.
So.
And it doesn't matter if you know your idle gap. If you know how to tune, you will be able to achieve that ideal idle gap. But if you don't know what you're doing, you're not going to achieve this idle gap.
Tuning an engine like that, so I know the needles are rich, and I start tuning. But key thing, I don't know where the idle gap is. This is how most people tune. The idle gap's big. I don't know how big.
All right, so you heard what he said. Idle gap's big, but you don't know how big.
The needles. How much do you actually turn them?
How much do you turn these?
Well, it's good to imagine a clock face around the needle, and then when you adjust, you only adjust about
little tiny increments, guys. You don't take the screwdriver and get in there and go whoop. Oh, well, that don't sound right.
Really close to the
that don't sound right.
You're literally just adjusting the width of the slit in the screw. So maybe just 1 minute, just to get the perfect setting.
Yeah, you like barely have to move these screws to adjust. Oh, now look how he's tuning this. This is a professional race guy, like one of the biggest ones in the world. Let's see how he tunes his nitros. It looks like his nitro's up on a bench.
Not really revving up. Idle is dropping. So I lean out the low speed needle.
And this is who I learned how to tune from, by watching this guy. So he's showing you how to
idle is still dropping.
Properly tune this in.
So I lean out the low speed needle more.
Now let me ask you a question. Is he driving the car around?
I lower the idle.
He's tuning on a starter box.
So remember, as you lean out the low speed needle, the RPM at idle will stay higher. So you have to reduce the idle gap.
So you lean and you reduce the idle gap. That's how you properly tune your nitro. You lean the bottom, then you reduce the idle gap, so that the RPMs go down, and you're trying to achieve a single stage idle, guys.
Not quite revving up.
Not quite revving up.
I leaned that high speed needle just there.
So I don't know, guys. So how do you properly tune a nitro? You have to have a load on it? Or does this guy know what he's talking about? Because I think so. This guy knows what he's talking about. So this is actually how you tune your nitros, guys.
So there I waited a bit, just let it idle. It does idle steadily. But then I get on the gas and it still seems that the engine is loading up, that it's rich.
So you can hear it. You have to have very good hearing to you just have to listen to the engine. The engine will tell you what it wants, guys. It's very easy.
Now now can you hear the idle is a bit high, so I think I'm gonna lower the idle, so reduce the idle gap.
So you lean and you reduce idle. Lean, reduce idle. And this is all being done on the bench.
No.
So I just watched a video of a guy that supposedly knows what he's talking about, telling us that you can't do this. So who knows more? This guy, JQ Racing, a world famous racer, doesn't know how to tune, or the guy that doesn't really know how to tune, doesn't know how to tune.
Okay, so there you go. So now the engine seems fine, but it was already good a while ago. I just kept leaning out the low speed, lowering the idle.
Remember that.
Leaning out the low speed, lowering the idle. Because I know that had I left it like it was a bit earlier, let's go back a bit. It would have run fine, but it would have had that double idle.
You don't want a double idle. Don't listen to anybody who tells you,
Like
oh,
this
you can have a
like,
double
it's
idle.
okay. But I'm still leaning out the low speed needle. And I'm still reducing the idle gap.
Bench
Because
tuning.
I want to achieve the smallest idle gap that works. That's what I'm doing here. It's iteration, like I mentioned earlier.
You want the smallest idle gap possible without hitting the lean spot in your engine, basically. You hear that idle? Now, is this somebody that knows what they're talking
the same
about?
thing, except now I'm tuning an engine where I know the idle gap. So I set the idle gap here to 0.5 millimeters. And since I did that, I don't need to touch the idle stop screw. I don't need to change the idle gap. I know where it is. I'm leaving it. I'm happy with it. So to set the idle, I'm just going to adjust the low speed needle. And then the high speed needle, I'm just going to adjust that for maximum revs. So let's watch that. So as you can hear, the idle is super low. It's almost not running. So I'm going to lean the low speed needle now to raise the idle.
Lean the low speed to raise the idle if you have the idle gap preset. But if you don't have your idle gap preset, you need to do it the other way.
I'm going to lean the top end. So I just kept leaning the top end to where it's sort of ballpark. It's not perfect yet, but it's close enough.
See, he's like me. He has OCD with this stuff. He
The
likes
idle
his
is
stuff
still
tuned.
very low. It sounds like
Awesome.
the engine is going to stop. So I'm going to lean the low speed needle.
If you know what you're doing, it's very easy, guys. If you follow the correct people, your life will be very easy with
Still
these
leaning
nitros.
it more. Leaning the high speed needle a bit.
But I don't know, guys. He seems to be tuning while he's on the starter box, which is the same thing as me tuning with the car up in the air on some tires. Isn't it the same thing?
Good. Revs pick up nicely. High speed needle is good. Do you see how much easier that was? Because I know where the idle gap is. I know it's right. I just need to set the idle correctly with the low speed needle and the maximum revs with the high speed needle. Boom. The engine's going to run. There's not going to be any two-stage idle. And it's just way easier. So I definitely recommend this way of tuning your engines. Okay, I think...
Okay, so what he just said was he definitely recommends this way of tuning your engines. So what he just did is what he recommends everyone do with their engines. So he just sat there with his car up at the starter box and fully tuned his car in. And then I just watched somebody on YouTube tell everyone that you cannot tune a Nitro that way. So there you go, buddy. There you go, dickhead. Can you tune a Nitro that way or not? Because who knows more? This guy, Invisible JQ Racing from Invisible Speed, who's a world famous racer or tuner or whatever he is. I don't know exactly what he is, but I do know he knows how to tune. And I've watched his hours and hours of tuning videos to learn what I've learned how to tune. And also, I've used my personal experience with these cars to know how to tune just like him. So I followed his instructions to a T. Okay, guys? If you want to know what you're doing, follow people like that. That's all I'm going to say. I have no affiliation with the guy, by the way. I just figured, you know, you should know the proper way to tune your nitros by putting it up in the air and revving it and listening to it. So before you go out and unsubscribe from people, make sure that they know what they're talking about. So with that being said, guys, you guys have an awesome day, and appreciate all you for tuning in, and make sure subscribe to people that know what they're doing. So yeah, guys, if you're gonna unsubscribe from somebody, make sure they don't know how to tune. So you guys have an awesome day, and I appreciate you all tuning in. And this is just another quickie just to show you guys the proper way to tune your nitros. So you all have a wonderful day. If you want to watch that video, I'll go down to my library and show you what video that was. Easy way to tune your nitro engine. So you guys all have a wonderful day, and I will see you on the next one.